Good evening. Welcome. Thanks so much for joining us on this Thursday evening. We're talking all things accounting in the United States over the next 30 minutes. I'm going to wait for a couple of more people to sort of trickle in before we get started in this discussion. But I did want to give you a quick introduction to who I am and what we're doing here. My name is Priyanka. I look after communications here at GradRight. Depending on where you are on your study abroad journey, whether you're figuring out what program to apply to, whether you're looking to fund your degree, we're here to help you with our two platforms, SelectRight and FundRight. They're both completely free for students to use. I highly encourage you to check them out online, download the apps, whatever it is you need to do, and feel free to go ahead and figure out the right program for you and figure out how to get the right funds to fund that program. But let's get started with this evening's event. We're talking about accounting. Now, there's a lot of talk about all of these new age kind of programs, big data this, big data that, you need to know analytics. Even if you're an accountant, is that really true? We're going to put that question to Sagar Gupta right here in a next minute or so. But wait, there's also another side to this debate, right? If you're going in for a degree like accounting, you should make sure that you are, going in for a traditional single subject specialization, a more traditional degree, if you will. Is that true? Is that not? We're going to put that question to Hassel. Who are they? They're going to introduce themselves really quickly, and we're going to dive right in. I do want to say that our Q&A box is open. So any questions you have, any concerns you have, if you're thinking about applying for fall 23, just a quick heads up, programs are still accepting applications. So you have about a week or so. Is that correct, Sagar and Hassel?
Yeah, a little over that. We will be happy to see more applications coming in.
Amazing. So a few more days left. You could still apply. You could be in the United States studying accounting as early as this September. So if you are interested, please stick around for the next 30 minutes. We're going to go zoom through tons and tons of questions. Please feel free to use the Q&A box. Any questions you have, any concerns you have about the application process, what kind of jobs are available for Indian students in accounting in the US, all of that, lots more, including what programs you could still apply to, how to do that, if there's scholarships available, everything we'll be covering over the next 30 minutes. So wonderful. Sagar, hi. Hassel, hi. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Priyanka. Good evening.
Hello.
Do you want to give us a super quick introduction and then we'll dive right in? Hassel, maybe we can begin with you.
Sure. Thanks. Hi. Hello. Good evening, graduate community. I'm Hassel and I'm based out of Hyderabad. I'm officially the representative of University of Miami's Herbert Business School, and I'll be happy to answer your questions today about taxation or finance or accounting, because this is what the world is really looking at in the coming days. Over to you, Sagar. Nice being you, man.
Thanks, Hassel. Hi, everyone. I'm Sagar. I'm a university recruitment specialist working with a lot of universities in the US and helping them try to find the right students who they are looking for in India. So I'm based out of Gurgaon, and I work with a lot of business schools in the US, accounting being one of the key programs that we support. Over to you, Priyanka.
So here's what I'm thinking. I want to know, maybe we'll do a quick rapid fire of sorts, if you will. I'll take one question to you, Hassel, one question to you, Sagar. Really quick questions, really quick answers. I'll try not to put you on the hot seat, but I can't promise anything. If the students aren't asking the tough questions, I definitely will. So Hassel, maybe what we'll do is we'll begin with you. Can you tell me in one sentence, what are the programs that are available for a student that's looking at accounting at Miami Herbert Business School?
Sure. So if you're very keen to go towards accounting or finance related programs, they've got 3 STEM designated programs which are still open for applications, and definitely some great scholarships. 1, MS in accounting, 2, MS in finance, and 3, MS in taxation. Accounting and taxation are pretty closely related to one another, considering the program requirements and also the outcomes. But these 3 are pretty interesting specialized masters, which have seen great success over the years at Miami Herbert.
Interesting. Sagar, in one sentence, what are the programs that you think, if a student isn't necessarily interested in a more traditional accounting degree, could they be looking at?
Well, if they're looking at a traditional accounting degree, students have the choice of taking up programs. I mean, there's a Master of Accountancy program available at most universities in US. George Washington University, for instance, offers a program in accounting analytics, which has its core built around accounting And then students have a choice to take up a specialization in analytics, which is the most booming sector right now in the US.
Yeah, so I want to ask you on that, right? I mean, we hear this all the time that big data is the future, big data is this. How important is it for an accountant to have an understanding of analytics?
If we look at the profession changing in the last 10 years, you would find that the accounting profession has completely changed. I mean, data coming in and analytics tools coming in has really changed how accountants used to do their job. So what 10 years before used to be a lot of manual data entry by looking at data sheets and realizing how would you really make meaning out of it, that's not what it is. Businesses have multiplied. So the amount of data that flows in is also much larger. And the way you see that data, your task as an accountant is not just to sort of manage those logs, but to also make sure how the information you're seeing really yields meaning to improve the business. So analytics is a very core requirement as you move forward in sort of taking up a degree in accounting.
Gotcha. Okay, Hasil, you mentioned a particular phrase. You mentioned that all of these degrees at Miami Herbert Business School are STEM designated. Can you quickly explain what does that mean?
Sure. So STEM designated program means the students, and this STEM applies especially to international students like the Indians. So every Indian goes to the US with a purpose to, of course, to study and do well in the course. And of course, post their study, they want to stay back because Indians take huge amounts of loan and they need to spend at least a few years to repay that back. So a STEM designated program means a student has an opportunity to get a 3-year work permit visa. It's called OPT, where students can apply after they graduate, and then students can work for 3 years. And after they do or are done with their OPT, they can apply for H1 through their respective recruiters. So this is very important for us to really understand. And when students choose the programs, they need to really evaluate whether it is a STEM designated or not. That's the point.
Gotcha. And Sagar, is the program that you were referring to at George Washington, is that also STEM designated?
Yes, it is. In fact, it is. So they have at George Washington, we have 2 programs in accounting. One is a regular Master of Accountancy, and the second is Master of Accountancy Analytics. The analytics program is actually the STEM designated program because you are taking up subjects that are focused in mathematics. You're taking up subjects that are sort of STEM coherent.
Gotcha. Okay, now I have a tough question. Even before we get into the program, the university, what kind of jobs are available, et cetera, let's talk about the most important thing. How does a student decide in terms of where to go to school, right? Location. Should I go to Miami? Should I go to DC? Hasil, if you had your say, what would you say?
Of course, Miami, because the Miami which we know is from the films and from the culture and from the beautiful beaches. But on a serious note, I would say Miami is today the fastest growing city in the US in terms of finance, real estate, tech, innovation, even venture capital investments, etc. So Miami is a very fast-paced city, and Florida in particular is a very fast-paced growing state. So the kind of opportunities that are out there is phenomenal. Speaking specific to the advantage for students getting into a program like accountancy or taxation or finance, which are broadly around the finance industry, Miami has the highest number of banks after New York City. And in the recent years, the number of banks, lenders, investment banking institutions, and other financial organizations that have come in is huge. It's called, I mean, along the, we have this South Beach in Miami, which is very famous. It's also called the Southern Wall Street. Miami is nicknamed as Southern Wall Street. So you can imagine students or professionals, young professionals who are really looking at a career. It's very important to choose the right city where they are going for their higher education. And trust me, Miami definitely stands out for its weather, of course, for its great culture, great vibe, the kind of networking, because there are a lot of industries that are speaking to each other. And a lot of great companies. In fact, University of Miami is situated in a place called Coral Gables, which is a very great, it's a beautiful, picturesque place in Miami. And a lot of corporate giants have got their offices, like American Airlines, Burger King, Microsoft. Some of these bigger companies have got their offices there. What it means is students have opportunity to really engage with a lot of these companies. And there are some of these organizations come and have some capstone projects. They work with some of the professors, some of the departments, and give projects out to students. So
Yeah.
I think the strategic decision of choosing the right city or place is super important. That's my say.
So sun, sand, surf, and also southern Wall Street is there in Miami. Sagar, I think when you think DC, you think the power center of the United States. That's where the White House is. Is it really the right city to be choosing for someone that's studying accounting and wants to build a career in accounting?
Well, certainly. So let me put it this way, and that's what is more important. But I would say that students should have a framework to take a decision. If you're studying business in the US and if you're studying engineering in the US, there are places that are different. So if you tell me that you want to study engineering in New York, well, I would have a question, why would you want to do that? And if you say that you want to go and study business in Massachusetts, well, that's not the wisest decision because Massachusetts is known for its engineering schools across sort of throughout how we have known the engineering schools in the US. So the way of looking at it is, for instance, if I have to take up a program in finance, I would certainly look at Miami as the right choice because that's where there a large financial hub is coming in. Or I would take up something in New York, where there are colleges that are there actually in the center. So there are several colleges that you would see, like Baruch College, Staten Island College, who have focused programs in finance, which are based in the center of the city. And these cities in a program like finance actually allow you the opportunity to not just immerse into the curriculum in this school, but every person you meet on the street is doing finance every day. So that's how you build a network. However, if it is for accounting, the largest amount of accounting work is actually done at headquarters of companies. And that's where accountants have the highest opportunities to come in. So Washington for a program in accounting is actually a fabulous choice, where a program in finance would be better in Miami or in New York, as Hassel pointed out. The reason I would say is that FBI, you're looking at World Bank, you're looking at International Monetary Fund, you're looking at Peace Corps. I mean, you look at any organization, their financial headquarters are in the Washington, DC. And that's where the opportunities that come in that city are going to be of a completely different nature. The kind of network you get is going to get you into the sector very importantly. So when you're choosing a program, again, I mean, in the US, it's not very similar as in India. You don't have a placement cell set up there. So you are actually on your own and you're trying to figure out ways to get in there. Of course, colleges support you with events, with getting you these networking opportunities, with finding out what is more important. But imagine staying in Washington, DC, taking sort of a local sort of a bus that you're moving in and being in touch with somebody who's actually sort of working in the White House, which is just like 4 blocks away, which is less than a mile from the George Washington University.
Yeah.
So that becomes very important.
Yeah, exactly. So 2 very persuasive arguments, I must say, on location. So if anyone's thinking about, how much does location matter? It matters, right? Because that's where you're really building that initial network. You're looking for internships that hopefully lead for jobs. So that's definitely something to consider. But okay, so now we've nailed location. I want to talk a little bit about what is it that students can really expect when they're, studying for these degrees. Can you tell us a little bit maybe about, are there any specializations within these degrees? Are there any specific classes or course structure? Any kind of insights around what would actually happen if you were to choose? And I would say, maybe, if Sagar, you could talk a little bit about the accounting analytics degree at GW, and Hassel, any insights you can provide on either of the 3 degrees would be great. So Sagar, maybe we can begin with you.
So, I mean, if we are looking at the kind of the curriculum you take up, so the main intent of people who study accounting in the US is to actually get a CPA certification. And the CPA certification is dependent on subjects you take at a university because every state has a different requirement for CPA. So there might be, let's say, a series of 10 subjects that you do that might qualify for 4 states in the US, but that might not qualify for some other states in the US. There's a minimum of 30 credits that you complete generally for an accounting degree. For that instance, at George Washington, you can complete those 30 credits in 9 months or more. So most
9 months. So you could go in September and in less than a year.
Yeah, you could be working and having a 3-year work visa. Yeah, you get 1 year, and as Hassel said, you then extend it for more time. Yeah. But that's where, in 9 months, you can complete those 30 credits at George Washington University. Now it depends how you choose those credits. And that's where in the US education system, you have graduate advisors. So it is not like a model that you have learned where there is a series of subjects you have to take. Everybody in the class is taking those subjects, but there would be some core subjects, and then there are these optional subjects. Right. So let's say if you're looking at accounting analytics as a degree, you have some core subjects on accounting, you have some core subjects on analytics, and then there's a series of elective subjects that you choose. which together help you build a package of what you find suits your need best. Using that, or sort of you do this discussion with your advisors there, and then you take a call on how or what is the best subject or what is the best combination that is working for you and allowing you an opportunity to work in the states you want to be in. So let's say if somebody wants to work in New York, that's a decision or a broad idea that they will have when they are deciding what subjects they want to take. Always the student can choose to do more credits if they want to have more possibilities open to them. So that's always an option. I can do 36 credits instead of 30, and then have the possibility of actually getting the opportunity to work in nearly all the states of US. So that's the choice that comes in. But I mean, CPA is at the core of doing an accounting degree that you are looking at. And that should always be in the mind of students when they're thinking of an accounting course in the US.
Very interesting. Hassel, any insights you can maybe give us, not just on the degree, but maybe also on CPA? Because I think this fact is very interesting, that each state has its own sort of requirements and its own sort of certification for you to practice as a certified professional accountant.
Sure. So in addition to what Sagar said, I mean, a lot of aspects are pretty similar in terms of the course duration. Even at Miami, the programs are anywhere between 30 to 35 credits. MS Finance is 35, accounting about 30. But it's important for the student to choose what exactly he wants or she wants as the goal, because there are about 42 credits, and student needs to evaluate some core programs to do with accounting or finance, and also some other programs, because ultimately they're working to get a business master's. So it's extremely important for the student to really evaluate what their real goal is. Of course, CPA is a very interesting and an important requirement to get into the corporate world or the business world. But at the same time, it's also important to get an overview of the entire accounting program on the whole. And this is a specialized business master's where students come with an average work experience of 4 to 5 years. And another common question that we get is after the students look at the curriculum, they say that I don't have a major, I mean, or a minor in my undergrad with accounting. Is it okay?
Yeah,
Absolutely. So to get a STEM designated MS in accounting or finance or taxation at University of Miami, you don't need to have a core accounting undergraduate major.
you do not?
No, this is not a mandatory requirement. We've seen engineers getting into an MS Finance and doing really well, and also into accounting programs. However, to keep everybody at stake and to get them on the same page, there are foundational courses that happen after the orientation. So before the class actually starts, somewhere in mid of August, they have a 1 week or nine-day orientation sessions that happen to get them online.
Gotcha.
This is very important for students. So it's important to look at the course objectives and outcomes before they really go into their program.
Absolutely. And I think for anyone, who travels from India to go to the US for a master's, it's a really expensive sort of investment that you're making in your future. You want to make sure that you're doing all the heavy lifting in terms of research and really making that right decision. And sort of that's why we're here to help with, sessions like this, to really answer all your questions and concerns. And in fact, there are a bunch of questions that have come in the Q&A box. I know that we only have about 10 minutes left with Hassel. Sagar, maybe we can stay on if there are a few more questions. Beyond that, we can do that. But two very important questions. Let's talk about the money. How expensive is it to attend Miami or George Washington? What are the course fees like? What are the tuition fees like? Do you have any insights that you could share with our student community on that? Hassel, maybe I can take that to you first. If you can talk a little bit about the course structure, course fees.
Right. So both the major programs which I'm referring to, which is MS in Finance and MS in Accounting at Miami. Starting with MS in Accounting, it's a 10-month STEM program, and the tuition fee alone comes to about $76,000 US. However, we have seen students getting pretty interesting and solid scholarships in the range of anywhere between 20 to 25 or 30,000 in certain exceptional cases. On the MS Finance, it's a 35 credit program, and the fees comes to about $88,000 US. And a lot of students, good students, get anywhere between $30,000 to $35,000 as a scholarship. It's also close to 10-month STEM program. So scholarships are pretty, good at University of Miami, and even the students get fairly good job. If you ask me about the average pay after students graduate, because it's an important question students usually ask, what kind of average base salary we get after we graduate, because they're going to take about 50 to 60 lakhs Indian rupees loan, which is not a small amount.
Yeah.
So over the last few years, across both these programs, MS Finance and Accounting, our students got, I think almost 90 to 100% students got placed within 2 to 3 months of graduation, which is a pretty good deal. And that talks about not just the program and the university, but Miami as a great place to start your career. And if I may add, the average base package has been anywhere between $90,000 to $100,000, if not more. In fact, in the recent times, we have seen MS Finance students getting even in the range of 120K salaries also.
And these are starting salaries right after graduation.
Yes, some of them don't have work experience, some of them do have work experience. So these are interesting numbers. So it's a good career. Students take loans, and highly possible that they can pay back within 3 to 4 years of their program. So that's about Miami.
Yeah,
Sagar,
thanks so
over to you.
much. Sagar, any insights you can share on sort of tuition fees, course structure at George Washington?
Yeah. So, I mean, we talked about the course structure. I'll talk about the fee, but at George Washington, a 30 credit degree would be somewhere around $60,000. Now, since we have all accountants on this webinar, I would not want to talk about the fee. I would want to talk about something which they know better than us. They talk about investment and return all day. That's what their background, and that's what they're looking to do all their careers. So it's not about the fee, but the game is actually about the return on investment that you're making. So you might do a degree in accounting, which might cost you $20,000, but do you really find that is really going to be worth it? Well, that's something that you might have to research. So at a program, let's say George Washington University, and I will even add to Haskell, for instance, at Miami, we're looking at a fee which is probably going to be around the range of $60,000, $65,000 of taking up the program. But if the return on investment is high, and let's say you get your CPA and you get into working as an auditor or working as a public sort of chartered accountant, you make a sort of a salary of which could range anywhere between $80,000 or $100,000 to start with your background and what your profile has been. Now, in that way, the return on investment is 1.5 times. So you can actually sort of pay back a huge amount very quickly, and you could then get into a settled career in the right amount of time. So my recommendation of choosing a program, if it is, whether it is Miami, whether it is Washington, whether it is any other university, it should be looked around with the idea of a return on investment. If that's in the right place, well, you're in the right place. So you would not go to Harvard and say that, no, I'm not going to pay $120,000 to study, because you know you're going to get much more within the next 1 year. So that's a decision where you have to be very careful and not just look at the absolute cost you pay upfront, because I mean, there are lenders who are ready to pay for good programs. So if you look at the program at George Washington University, which has a good placement, which is a good background, the university is reputed, any lender based on your profile would give you an easy sort of a non-collateral loan. And that's something that you can build upon.
Yeah, great. I have a couple more questions. I want to take them really quickly. If we could sort of just one word, one answer questions. And I think some of them are to both of you. Are 3-year degree BCom students eligible to apply? Asks Shiva. Hassel, can BCom students apply?
Absolutely, yes.
3 years, all good for Miami.
Yes.
Excellent. Sagar?
Yeah, in fact, I want to take more time on this question. This is something which comes very commonly from students.
Yes.
So, I mean, when you're choosing an accounting program, we know that US has a very diverse range of programs. So you have accounting analytics programs, you have business analytics programs, you have finance programs. BCom degrees are, of course, allowed at most institutions in the US because it's a 3-year degree. And I mean, BCom honors, all these programs are allowed. Now, if you have a BCom background and you are evaluating choices between choosing the right program, it becomes very important to look at accounting being one of the most important choices that you can take up. And I say that for a reason that when somebody who's moving with a BTech degree in the US, you would not really want them to take accounting. I mean, their background can fit better into a business analytics program. They have no idea of how accounting would work really well for them. But somebody who has a BCom degree already knows a component of commerce and accounting. For them, accounting analytics is always a better fit as compared to a program that you might be looking, let's say, in business analytics. So it's about, that's where a degree is eligible, and it allows you to build upon the background that you have sort of created for yourself in India in the last several years.
Gotcha. Great answer. So Kamal asks, is there an age limit for any of the master's courses? And is IELTS a precursor for admission? So is a TOEFL or IELTS required for Miami? And is there any age restriction at all?
Okay, I can start. Age restrictions is not a major concern. We have seen students with even 6 to 8 years work experience also applying and getting good admits are offered from different specialized master's programs at Miami. However, with regards to IELTS, if you're going for the MS Finance program at Miami, then you don't need to provide any IELTS score. So that's an advantage with this particular program.
Hmm.
However, if you're keen to get into MS in accountancy or taxation, IELTS, a minimum score of 7 or TOEFL of 94 is definitely a mandatory requirement.
Gotcha. And I just wanted to double check, Hassel, is that if students are applying via GradRight, that applies?
Yes, that's correct.
Gotcha. Okay, excellent. Sagar, any thoughts on sort of TOEFL IELTS requirements for GW? And I'm assuming there's also no age limit per se.
There's no age limit. I mean, so US universities always evaluate profiles based in a very comprehensive manner. It is not a model where you would just be looked at your background, your GPA, etc. It's a comprehensive evaluation. Your age, if it justifies and sort of you are able to prove that your experience in the background adds value to the cohort, well, that's in addition to your application. So there's no age limit. In terms of IELTS and TOEFL, there was always a language test requirement, and that's actually very important to take up because it's also to see whether you're going to be able to gel well with the cohort that you're studying in and take up the programs that are taught mostly in English. I mean, all programs are taught in English. So that's where the language test is a requirement. The standardized tests like GRE, GMAT are optional, so they are not compulsory, but if students have them, it's always good to attach them to your application.
Yeah, okay, great. We're almost completely out of time. I'm not going to hold you past these 30 minutes. You've already given us a lot of information for, for students to really figure out what is it that they would, should be looking at. But one really quick question, Sagar, before you leave. A student here, Sirbaz, asking, what is the difference between business analytics and accounting analytics? I don't necessarily want you to spend too much time talking about that, but I do want to talk about accounting analytics. It's a new program at GW, right? It's the first time that they're offering this.
Yeah, and in fact,
yeah, and why would a student sort of choose to sort of be in that initial cohort? Is there any advantage, disadvantage? What would you advise?
Yes, certainly. So see, accounting analytics as a program was started by GW after this whole understanding that analytics is getting very sort of detailed and sort of very well entering the profession of accounting. Most firms require accountants who have a strong idea of how data works, how analytics works. And that's where the accounting analytics track was started to actually make sure that the students who are coming in are more industry ready. Now, if you join the incoming cohort of the program, you actually have the opportunity of sort of, it's the early cohorts. You're coming into the program at a time where you are going to have the chance to both learn from the program as well as contribute in shaping the program. So the learnings that you will take and you will bring in, you will contribute to sort of shaping of the curriculum. It's all going to add up there. If you ask about the last question, which was majorly about business analytics and accounting analytics, well, I would want to talk about more on accounting analytics. Business analytics as a program is more about looking at using analytics for making business decisions. But accounting analytics as a program allows you to do more of operational sort of activity in a business using analytics. So it's about, let's say, managing large scale data sets that are required in companies like the Big Fours, where you're not talking about just a small Excel sheet being able to manage your accounts or total systems. So analytics plays a role there. So you actually are sort of setting up very large scale systems to manage the accounting records and accounting systems that are there. With degrees like this, you actually open up opportunities for roles in the future that could also be like chief financial officers in companies, because you understand both sides of how the accounting system is working and then how you're using it to actually evaluate and identify strategy for companies.
Amazing. Thank you both so much for taking time to talk to our GradRight student community. I really appreciate it. Thank you for answering so many questions in such a short period of time. And everyone who joined us, thank you for taking the time to spend with us. I hope this was helpful in sort of figuring out what program, what university, and any questions that we weren't able to answer, please do feel free to write into us. You can follow us on Instagram, on LinkedIn, we're at GradRight. Please do sort of send in your questions, any sort of concerns you have. If you're interested in applying for fall 23, June 1st is the deadline, but if you've got questions about waivers, about application fee waivers, definitely write in. We'll be happy to help whenever we can. Hassel, Sagar, thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you a lot.
Thank you.
All the best, guys.
Thanks everyone for joining in.